Hey, welcome back to the programmers. My name is Navin. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk to you guys about how we can use variables in C++. Okay, so in this previous lesson, if you all remember, we have learned about data types, how we can declare our data types, but we haven't learned how to use the data types. Okay, to use data type, we need a variable. We need to use them together. Okay, so now let's look into what a variable is. What you can understand what is a variable is. Okay, a variable refers to a storage location in the computer memory that one can set aside to save, to retrieve, and to manipulate data. So these are the three important things that a variable can do. Okay, save, retrieve, and manipulate data. These are three important things that you need to remember. Okay, so now let's do a short recap from the previous lesson. I hope you all still haven't forgotten what I've taught you in the previous lesson, but it's alright. We can do a short recap. So in here stands for integer. Okay, integer is going to store a whole number without decimals. Remember, without decimals. Okay, double is going to be storing a floating point number with decimals such as 19.99. As you can see, we have a decimal here. Okay, you can also use float, but I've already taught you what's the difference between float and double, so I'm not going to be repeating here. And next we have char, which is a character, so it stores a single character, so you have to use only a single character. We cannot use anything more than that. Okay, and you have to surround it by in a single quote. Okay, then we have string, which stores text. Okay, and we have to surround it by double quotes. Always remember, string uses double quotes and char uses single quote. Then lastly we have bool, which stores values such as true or false. Only true or false. You cannot store anything other than that in bool. Bool is basically to verify certain things, whether the statement is true or it's false. Okay, so now we have made a small recap, so let's get into today's lesson. Okay, so now I'm just going to teach you like the simple basics. I'm just going to print out certain things that all these integers can store, because we have never seen me printing out. So now I'm just going to show you the thing that we store inside here. Previously I've only taught you how to store, but we have not seen the printing part. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to print each of these out. Okay, now let's just declare int. Okay, let's just say age, because age is normally as a whole number, right? So let's just say equals to 21. Okay, now let's just do the printing. See out. Okay, age. Okay, so I can close it in double quotes and full stop. Now let's print this out. As you can see, the age is 21. Okay, but if you're going to put here 21 point, let's just say 56. First of all, this wouldn't make any sense because nobody's age could be 65. I mean, this doesn't make sense. But even if it makes sense, the compiler is going to throw an error. You see, I mean, it's not going to throw an error, but it's not going to print out the decimal after that because it's an integer data type. Okay, now let's just remove it. Let's just look at something else. Let's just look at double. Let's just say double. What can we give? Let's just give area. Okay, area equals to 256.778. Okay, let's just print out this. Okay, so now you see you're going to get this decimal value. Okay, so float is basically the same. It's just the decimal behind it. When you use double, it's going to be more precise because as I told you before, double is 8 bytes and float is 4 bytes. Okay, so now let's look at character. So let's just say character. Let's just use the previous example. That's great. So let's just say if you get a C. So remember to always enclose it in a single quotes. Okay, let's just say C. Now let's just print this. Okay, let's just give it a more meaningful name. Okay, let's just say grade in maths. Okay, and now let's just put this in. Okay, as you can see, grade, it has printed out a single character. Okay, so this is how it works. I'm very sure you have gotten an idea on how this works, right? Okay, let me just show you on string. String is very easy. I'm just going to use let's just use name. Okay, Okay, remember to enclose it in a double quotes. If not, it's not going to work. So let's just say Thomas Muller. You can have a spacing here. Just that you don't have a spacing when you declare a variable. In a string, when you're assigning a value to it, you can have a space. Okay. Okay. Now let's just print it out. So as you can see, it has printed out my name is Thomas Muller. Okay, so now for Boolean, it's either going to be you set it to true or false. Okay, let's just say for example, bool is coding fun. Let's just set it to true. Okay, now let's just print out this. So now you're going to get a 1. So always remember 1 here means true. Okay, so if you set this to false, it's going to be 0. So always a boolean value is only going to give you a 1 and a 0. So there's nothing other than this. Okay, but in the future you'll be seeing other ways how to use boolean. It's not always about 1 and 0, but there are also other ways. But for now we're just going to cover this. Okay, so let's just say when you set it false, it's going to be 0. As you can see, is 0. Okay, so now we have seen the basic implementation of all these variables and data types, how to use this, how to store a value, how to give a particular data type, how to assign a value to a data type. Okay, so now let me just show you a bit more of an example of a data type. Okay, let's just create a short story. Okay, let's just say, just follow with me. So I'm writing a short story here, so y'all can just type it down if you all want, or y'all can just look at my tutorial and later on y'all can try to follow what I'm doing here. Okay, okay, so now we're going to print out this statement and see what the output is going to be like. Okay, as you can see, we have printed out the output. There was once a name named George. He was 70 years old. He lived in Florida. He really liked the name George, but he didn't like being 70. So as you can see here, we have a few things that is being repeated, like maybe the age, maybe the name. Okay, so let's just say we have to change. Let's just say in the future we want to change any of this. So you have to come down here manually by one and just change this name. Let's just set this to Adam. So now it's going to print out Adam here. But this is not practical. This is only practical when you have a short program, and this is not efficient because we only have like 5 or 6 lines of code. Okay, so what about if we have 600 or 6,000 lines of code? We cannot go line by line to look for everything. So we have to group all these things together into a single variable, and we can change it. So by changing it in just one place, the whole program, the whole code is going to get executed. we don't have to come to line by line. So because by coming by line, we humans, we always might make some kind of error. We might always miss out something. So we must always try to keep it as simple as possible. So this is when data types and variables come in handy. Okay, so now let's just see how we can store all these variables in a data type. Okay, so now let's just change this back to George again. Okay, so remember to always declare your variables and data types inside your main. Okay, now let's declare a data type. Okay, so first of all, I want to declare a data type for this name, George. Okay, name, we're going to use string. Okay, so let's just declare a data type, string, and let's just give it a, always remember to be as descriptive as possible when naming these variables, because later on when you want to find a certain things, it's much more easier. So instead of naming it, instead of giving this name, if you're going to give this something as maybe like n, it's also possible, it's going to work fine. But later on when you want to find this, you might not know what this n is, or maybe sometimes you might know what this n is, but other people, other programmers who are going to look at your code in the future, they might not know what this n is. So always remember to give it, be as descriptive as possible. Okay, so I'm going to name this thing. And okay, so now let's just assign. Here what we're doing after the equals operator is we are assigning this name a piece of value. It could be anything. So enclose it in double quotes because it's a string, remember. Okay, now let's just set it to George and semicolon. Okay, next let's just set a variable for age. Age is a whole number here. Okay, so we are going to use integer data type and give it an age variable. Set this to 70. Okay, next, he lived in Florida. Florida is a, let's just say, location because it's not a house address. Okay, so let's just give it a string and give it this location. Okay, and what else do we have? Okay, so for this example, I'm only going to use these three. Okay, so now let's just see how we can implement all of these name, age, and location inside our short story over here. Okay, so now what you're going to do is we're going to remove this George. We're going to remove this George and have the variable name here. Okay, and we're going to remove, he was, let's just make this, I'm just going to retype this because it's easier that way. He was to age Okay, so now we have implemented age, we have implemented name. Okay, so now for the location, he lived in, let's just remove this and put in a variable name. Okay, so now let's just print this out. Okay, let's just remove this as well. I forgot to look at this. Name. Age. Okay, so now we have changed all this. As you can see, now we have put in the variables that we have declared earlier. Okay, so now let's just run this program. There's no error. Okay, so as you can see, it's printing out the same exact thing what we did just now. Okay, as you can see, like if you want to like ask me like why do we have to implement it this way, is because now we don't have to change this name manually. If we have 1000 lines of code, because we are not hard coding the value inside this in every single line. So let's just say now we have to change this guy's name to, maybe let's just say Adam, and let's run the program. So as you can see, this thing is going to change automatically in every line. Here we only have Adam repeating twice, but if you have Adam repeating 5000 times or 100 times, it's going to change. It's going to keep getting changed. You can do the same thing for the age. Let's just say Adam is 45. He lives in CA, California. Okay, so as you can see, it's getting changed. You only have to change it in one place. You're not going to be changing it in every single line of code. Okay, so that's the importance. So this is an efficient way of writing code. Okay. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is you can also make this. Okay, let's just say we have another line of code. Let's just come down here. Let's just say we have another line of code. Okay, let's just say we have another line of code. Let's just copy this. Let's copy this. Okay, let's just copy this and I'm going to set this. So now I'm going to set the location to Seattle. Okay, so now I'm going to print out the location and I'm going to change the name of this guy. To Christian. Okay, let's run the program. Oops, doesn't matter. Oh yeah. So we cannot be using the same name. Okay, so let's just give this a name 1. Location 1. So I think there's a small bug in this code. Oh, it's okay. Okay guys, I'm so sorry, there was a small bug just now. I managed to figure it out. It was not a big problem. I kept declaring the data types, so you're not supposed to actually declare a data type if you need to change. So let's see how you can make a similar story but with a different name, a different age, and a different location. Okay, so let's just have a new line. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is we should not, what I did is now was I declared the data type again and have the same variable. So you cannot have the same name, which is a variable, the same variable again in the main function. So that's basically a redeclaration. So your compiler is going to yell at you, it's going to throw an error. So you're not supposed to have that. So we're only supposed to have a name. You're not supposed to declare the variable again. So if you're going to declare a variable again, can, but you need to give this a different, maybe a name 1 or name person or something like this. So but that's not what we're going to do right now. So because we just want to use the same thing. Okay, so gives this the same name. So let's just set it to, now let's just set it to John. The same thing goes for the age and the location. So just set the age equals to, let's say John is 21 years old, and let's just say he lives in Seattle. Okay, so now what you're going to do is we're going to copy this whole thing, paste it below here. Okay, now what's going to happen is, here is the first story, or this is the first story, and here is the second story. Okay, let's just print it out and see the result. Okay, so as you can see, we have two different stories over here. One is the Adam story, another one is John story. Okay, so even though we only declare the data types only once, as you can see, we only declare the data type only once, so we can use this thing over and over and over again. Okay, so because why this is happening is because the compiler is going to always be reading from top to bottom. It's not going to be reading from bottom to top. So this is how the compiler works. So let's remember, whatever you write below, it's going to get override. Okay, so what I mean by override is it's going to update the value. It's going to update whatever you have assigned. So this is the latest assignment. So below here I write another story and I assign the name to equal to something else. So it's going to keep updating. Okay, that's how it works. Okay, lastly I'm going to give you a short example of what constant means. So let's just declare constant as age, because normally let's just say constant age. Let's just say my age equals to 21. Okay, now let's just print this out. So equals to, let's just say Adam's age is, let's just print out. So if you can see here, Adam's age is 21, but if you come down here and say my age, like what we did just now, we assign this now a new value, which is, let's just say 30. Okay, and if we print out the same thing again below, I forgot the end line statement, so let's just give this end line. Okay, I forgot the semicolon. Okay, so as you can see, Adam's age here is 21, Adam's age below here is 30. Okay, why? Just now we said we are supposed to change. Yes, this is what it's supposed to do. But there are certain situations whereby we do not want to change certain things. We want to keep the thing fixed. For example, age. Okay, it can be anything else as well. A certain values which is not supposed to change. So we do not want to accidentally assign this a new value here, saying that Adam is 30. Previously he was 21, suddenly he's 30. So we do not want this to happen. So that is when we have to declare constant variable. So what happens? So let's look at how we can declare constant variable. So constant variable is the same. We just add const, and after this we declare a variable. So normally we keep this capital letter. All of this is going to be capital letter. So let's just say age instead of my age. So let's just declare 21. So now let's just print out. Oh, I forgot the integer data type. My bad. Okay, so as you can see, Adam's age here is 21. So now let's try to change this. What happens when we use this constant? Whether we are able to change this or not. Okay, let's come below here. Set. Let's just say Adam is 31 now, and let's just give this the end line. Let's print this out right now. So now Adam, we have assigned a new value. So Adam is now supposed to be 31. So let's see what happens. As you can see, the compiler throws a error because age, we cannot redeclare this thing assigning a new value because we are using a constant over here. If this is not a constant, let's say I delete this constant, it's going to run, and Adam is going to become 31 right now. So these are the difference between using a constant and not using a constant. It's okay to not use all of this in capital letter, but it's always practice. Programmers, we always use capital letter. So when we look at this, we know that this is a constant. It's easy to identify a constant and a non-constant. So that's all for this lesson. See you guys in the next lesson. Thank you very much.